Hey, you got here just in time. I'm just about to talk about this new tube light that I've been using for the past couple months. This is the 𝗟𝗏𝗺𝗀 by Falcon Eyes. In this video, I'll be showing you a couple real-world practical examples of how you can use this as your primary or only light source, especially when you're in a pinch like I am right now, where I've recently moved into my new studio. This is basically the only light that I've been using for a lot of my shoots for the past couple weeks. Having a portable and powerful RGB LED light, one that can be easily packed up and quickly set up for a variety of shoots, is quickly becoming a must for me. Even when I'm not shooting on the go, I'm still usually working in smaller or more awkward spaces where my bigger and heavier lights can actually be really difficult to set up. And while this obviously won't be able to match the peak brightness of those big lights, for most of the filming and photography I do, the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 actually makes up for it with its versatility and convenience. You may have seen my other review of the Falcon Eyes F7 Mini, and compared to its little sibling, it actually shares a lot of the same qualities and features. And while the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 isn't nearly as portable and arguably not pocketable, I'd still say it's a very practical size to be able to carry around with you easily. As I'll share in a number of these example shots that I took with the 𝗟𝗏𝗺, combining it with the smaller F7 is actually a really powerful combo, and probably for a lot of videographers and content creators, a perfect setup. Okay, so let's get a couple of the key features and specs out of the way. At just 343 millimeters long and almost half a kilo, the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 is the smallest of the three total models that they have in this lineup. It's 13 watts and has a built-in 3200 milliamp battery that lasts for about 2 hours, and it actually charges via USB-C from 0 to 100% in about 2.5 hours. USB-C is great, and the ability to continually run this indefinitely when it's plugged into a power source is even better. Its color temperature goes from 2500 Kelvin all the way to 9999 Kelvin. It has a CRI rating of 96, and that's what measures how accurate a light's reproduction is. Anything above 90 is considered really good. It has a Bluetooth app for connectivity, and it has mini XLR in and out ports for DMX control if that's something you need too. While the app isn't the prettiest and sometimes it can be a little wonky, it actually connects pretty reliably and fast, and it gets the job done. For mounting, you have 1/4-inch threading on both sides as well as magnets on the ends, which are found on its backside. I've mounted this to tripods, monopods, and various metal surfaces. The magnets are strong, but they usually require both sides to have good contact in order for the light to actually stay in place. Because of its length, it can actually be rather hard to find a long enough and flat enough surface for you to mount the light to magnetically. And while you can sometimes get by with just having it mounted with one magnetic end, it will limit the types of angles and directions that you can actually keep the light facing in. The light comes with a really nice hard shell case, but I've never actually used it because of how durable this is on its own. While the camera probably can't pick it up too well, there's actually a good amount of scuffs on the back and outer rims from where it's either taken a fall or brushed up against something. Probably out of all my other lights, this has taken the most beating so far, but it's also the one that I'd bet will last the longest. Controlling everything, changing your settings is really easy and actually pretty intuitive with its large 5 labeled button layout. Power, mode changer, change selection, and up and down. Having a small backlit screen which quickly identifies what mode you're on, what selection you're making, makes it a breeze to cycle through and dial in your desired look. Even the icons they used for the scene modes help you quickly identify what the mode is without actually having to wait and see what it does. Something that can be a little bit annoying though is when you are cycling through the modes, you can only go forward and you can't switch to a previous one if you accidentally skipped over it or you want to go back for any reason. You've got all the modes you'd expect with a light like this, including a handful of scenes that probably you'll never use. CCT, which is one of the 2 modes I use the most, has controls for brightness in increments of 1%, temperature by 50 Kelvin, and GM adjustments by 1. In scenes, you can control the speed and the brightness, which is actually something cheaper lights don't usually let you do. And while there's a total of 20 to choose from, I primarily only use number 4, which is a candle flickering, 13 and 14, which are HSI breathing, and occasionally I'll also use 1, which is lightning, which can be fun and actually cool to use sometimes. But unless you're planning on throwing some kind of rave party, those flash modes are just going to give you a seizure. Depending on how you like to dial in your specific colors, you can adjust them either through RGB or HSI modes. My preference is to use HSI as it also allows me to adjust intensity versus RGB RGB, which limits you to max brightness only. There's also color gel mode to select between various Lee and Roscoe gels if that's your jam, but I never really mess with that. And so to perhaps help you better relate to what I'm working with, especially in this limited situation that I have right now, let me tell you a little bit about my studio and the way I'm using this light for my various shoots. Recently, a lot of the main work that I've been doing, not just on this channel, but also for makeuseof.com, has been making review tech videos like the one you're seeing right now. If you haven't seen my last video, which I put out about a month ago, we've recently moved to this new house, and so we've been really tied up getting the space exactly how we want it. Of course, with that, especially in the studio specifically, that means I'm limited in terms of how I can mount my lights right now. And so with that, something more portable, lightweight, and easily mountable in various different angles and directions like the 𝗟𝗏𝗺𝗀 actually allows me to have a lot more flexibility and spend less time worrying about how do I set up these bigger, clunkier pieces of gear. And so until all that's in order, this has been my key light, or only light, for a lot of my shots, not necessarily out of necessity, but because of convenience and again, how quick it is to use. So how do I make the most out of the one light? Especially when it comes to product photography and video, this can help out a lot. When using this as your main or only light source, because of its large size and brightness, you're able to illuminate a relatively large surface pretty evenly. When I want to get a little more creative or dramatic, I'll either hand hold this or mount it to an extended monopod so I can swing it around to various sides and angles to cast different directional lighting or create drop-offs. And like I was saying earlier, a really cool combo is to actually complement this with the Falcon Eyes F7 Mini to either use it as a fill or to add some color pop. I've also been exploring, working, and learning how to use motivated lighting more. This is when you emphasize or enhance your practical lights, like my favorite Edison IKEA lamps. And this scene here, is that IKEA lamp actually this bright and lighting the whole scene? No. I've got the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 off camera somewhat angled in the same direction to make it look like the lamps are doing all the work. Same thing goes for getting more window light shining on me when I'm sitting at my desk. Having the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 allows me to manipulate and make it look like I'm getting more natural light coming between my curtains. Exclusively using just the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 to light a person, however, is something that you can also do, but with again just one, it'll definitely be trickier to get decent results. I'm personally a fan of more dramatic lighting and have been trying to use reverse key lighting, or upstage lighting as it's also known, more frequently as I get a better hang of it. By placing the light to my side and slightly behind me, I can add some more mood and depth to my shots with just the one 𝗟𝗏𝗺. One of the other main reasons I really like this look is as someone who wears glasses a lot and someone who actually cheaped out on getting the upcharged anti-reflective coating, this has dramatically helped me reduce the amount of annoying glare that I usually get with my typical lighting. But let's say you did want to use the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 as your key light, but also use additional lights like the F7 Mini and maybe even the lamp. This will definitely help your shot look a lot better, make it look less flat, give it more depth. So with just the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 and one other small light like the F7 Mini, it's pretty simple and quick to get similar shots. Of course, if you want to use this more of a fill or backlight too, that's definitely a good choice for these 𝗟𝗏𝗺s. For a number of my past shoots, I frequently have these either in the background of my shots bouncing against the wall to add more pop and separation for my subjects, or actually off to one side to bring more color into the shot. Because of how bright these can get even in their RGB and HSI modes, this allows me to add that layer of color that I want to my shots, which normally wouldn't be possible with my weaker lights because the key and fill lights would overpower them. So there you have it. That's how and why I've been using the 𝗟𝗏𝗺 one so much, especially as I'm getting this studio all set up and fully operational. This has really been a lifesaver and has really allowed me to continue my production. You can see with some setup and creative thinking, there are a lot of practical uses to get the most out of it. So don't let this small light fool you, there's a lot it can do. And thanks to this new light, I'll be able to go back to my regular schedule of uploading once a week at least. And of course, if you want to see more camera and tech related reviews and tutorials, this is a good channel to subscribe to because I'm always putting out content like that. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.